Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths Designer, and I'm sitting on top of the Navarone base, or the existing Navarone base, because I have a hankering to do some modifications on this, but we're going to go, you know, as is normal for me, a little insane, because I've never been classed as normal really, and there's some interesting items I would like to put into this base for use in the remaining part of the campaign, and just some experimentation. Now this is the current base as such, in that it's got some reasonable guns at each corner and some missiles for air defense as well as sea defense, and the at the top it's got some radar dishes to give it some extended range to act as a radar tower at the same time. Now this was designed some time ago when ranges were somewhat less, and you were basically intended to only really meet enemy at about 1,000 to 1,500 maximum sort of range, where the ranges have now increased somewhat, and also the what we're up against. So this has got very little, in fact no shielding, and I think it has got some shielding, but very little shielding, and no anti-laser defences, etc. So there's quite a bit of defensive work that needs to be done on this as well. The general structure is good in some ways, and the radar dish on the top does work and gives a very good range if it's seen in the map. But what my idea is to strip off all the weapons, maybe increase the engine or build a second engine just to increase the engine size. But the reason I want to look at these structures is it's an area that isn't really looked into very much in the game and the campaign. For the factions, there is now some structures appearing for us to battle against. There was the fishing village, I believe, Deepwater Guard, and I'm sure there's going to be other factional structures that appear on occasion with other groups. And my thought is two sort of areas I would like to look at. One is my own defensive structures, which this Navarone base would become a part of. But also I might look at some sort of the land vehicles, which have been looked at to a degree in the forums. But if we go to the map, some of these big open areas here, like on the Deepwater Guard, or if we go up a bit north, there's some other large areas. There is also some over this side, to the east, although not many for the Scarlet Dawn. What would be interesting is some land vehicles, which would basically, or at least very low flying aircraft, however we want to class them, but basically lander based vehicles that maybe go in and attack these structures. So this is sort of like, possibly if the game develops a little bit more land structures, a way of possibly working with that basis. So anyway, I don't know if that's maybe a little mad and a little ahead of myself there, but it seems like a worthy idea, and just seems like a bit of a laugh really. And to be honest, I've never been classed as sane at the best of times, so certainly doing something like this would be fun. Okay, for this base though, what I want to see, and my intention, is I want to make this base more than just a local support area. I want to make it a long range support base, being able to attack things at extreme ranges. So this is going to be my idea is to make this in a map have about a 1 square, which is about 5,000 meter. Now the AI itself will only detect up to about 5,000 meters, will only attack things in 5,000, but you can see that that's effectively a couple of rings worth, a lot more than normal. Normally our engagement range, if you let them in close, is less than 1,000. This will be firing potentially at things out to maybe 5,000. I have built some ICBM missiles. I've built some that go out to over 6,000, but in this particular case I'm going to keep to one which I've built, which is good out to about 5,000 meters. So the AI can use it. The ones that go over 6,000 are okay. They don't do that much damage, but you have to manually fire them, which is not great and not necessarily beneficial. The plan is to put a couple of large cannons on here as well. We'll get rid of the 4 small cannons, maybe replace them, and put 2, one on either side facing forward, so they get just slightly less than 180 degrees, but they can fire both forwards. And the cannons may be firing out to about 3,000 meters. So if something comes within 3,000, then the cannons would basically start firing. And then finally some closer range defenses, which is for less than 2,000 meters. So less than 2,000, we've got some missiles and cannons that start cutting in, and some AA defenses. So we've got quite a few elements that are going to be done on this. So this is going to be a part 1. Now I may split this up into a few episodes, looking at the different systems separately, and build it up, because we're not going to need this vehicle for some time, so we won't hold up the campaign for this particular build. We'll get this built over a few episodes and then bring it back into the game a little later, potentially. And it's just a bit of a fun mucking around with various game mechanics on this. We're going to have it so that it's a single structure that can defend itself against any incoming vehicles, as well as provide long-range support in a battle. So, okay, let's start this off. I'm going to need to have the menu on, and we're then going to build mode, so we can have a look at what we've got already. Now, we're going to need a bit more power, because we're going to need some shields on this. But one good thing with a structure is you've got quite a lot of room. You can build out quite substantially on a structure. We haven't got to worry about propulsion. Once it's in place, that's it. Now I'm going to use a lot of wood on the outside of this as an external shield, partially because we've got lots of wood available. I have an inner metal cover, but let's put a lot of wood around as an ablative armor. We'll also put some shields on there as well, which is where we'll need some engine power. This is the central core at the moment. We've got a load of engines down here. I'm not sure how effective this is. So I might rebuild this. I think this is an earlier design. It seems to be quite a few cranks here, and we're only getting where's the engine block? Well, we're only getting 3,200, which seems 2,100 before my character's changes, my character buffs. I'm sure with a slightly different engine design I can change that, but we can do that later when we start looking at defences. I think where we start is, first of all, I'm going to chop off all of these guns, because I reckon that we're going to rebuild all of these missiles and gun platforms, because frankly they're old style and I want to be able to push out. So we're going to use the structure, and I'll be back once I have basically cleaned off some of these missiles and at least the cannons and that, and we can have a look at them, because also a lot of the missile ranges have changed now. So and over the last I don't know, months or so since I built this, because this was, I think I built this almost when we were in with the Deep Water Guard. I think possibly starting with them, I possibly built this as a design. So we've learnt a lot, and there's been a lot of changes since then. So yeah, back in a few minutes once this is clear and ready to get some more structures. So I'll leave it recording, and seeing how we go, we may time lapse it or I may just cut. So see you in a bit. And welcome back. And after chopping away a considerable amount of this base, I realised that may have been better to start again, but no, we will persist on modifying what we have. So got a bit of a base here to start putting on our defences. Now my plan is that somewhere over here, as an example, we'd put a gun with possibly some of its ammo supply, etc. underneath, but a turret here with a rather large gun pointing that way, and the same here. Potentially on the front, this section here coming out would be a range of missile systems for various ranges, for possibly air-to-air. And then I'm going to look at some of the new turret designs, the two-way turrets, etc. for some air-to-air missile systems, potentially on the front of this, near the corners. So in these sort of areas, pointing out, getting anything that gets close, and then finally some AA guns. Now all the vertical launch missiles will have to stay within the range of these radio dishes, so that when they fire they don't catch on these or try and go off off to the side, or when a barrel of a gun goes over the front of them, they won't suddenly start blowing up the gun. So yeah, we've got a range here. So cannons on the side, missiles down the centre will be the basic layout of the defences. We may put some anti-missile systems possibly on the top as well, if we will fill out, or I might actually extend the size of these particular sections. We'll see how we go. Right, what I'm going to start with is something I've been working on, and is always I find of great fun, is missiles, because I liked my missiles, you may have noticed, and when I started this campaign, the whole campaign theme was a missile using faction. For myself, so just laying that out there so I know what width we have to ensure we don't go any further than we need or we should do, to ensure we don't impede on anything. Now I have a rather large, as I call it, ICBM system to put in here. It's a bit long. Let's just say the missiles, they are definite noodle sticks. Let's see, that's 8, 12, right, so we're actually gonna need to start this below the line of the main platform. Yes, it is that long, it is that big a structure. These are approximately 20 block missiles we're going to be putting in here, which is about as long a missile as you're going to want to put on any structure. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. If I just take out one of those there, just so that I can put that in. Come on, please, let me. No, okay, well, we'll do it with normal blocks then. It's being a pain, bear with me a second. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 16. So that would be where the top of the missiles will be sticking out. So I will just block that in like this. We won't use this first row, and that will set the top of the missiles as such. Oops, come on. Yes, I should be using the key based actually here. I think it might be easier. Let's just go down a couple in there, and it's not letting me put that there because of those blocks. There, here, there we go. Those blocks there, so that's our top. Now we need to go down a little further than that, so let's take myself down. So that's 16 blocks, so 16. With that one there, that makes it a 20 block missile. One for the launch pad, which I will need on the bottom of this missile. Oh yes, as I said, rather large missile. Now we also need to allow some room for a launchers, some sorry, just try and do multiple things at once, and my brain never works very well when I'm trying to do multiple things at a time. Yeah, we'll need some room for some pushing out the missiles. Some my brain has stopped. Ejectors, that's the right word. Ejectors. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. So yes, we'll start somewhere down here. We might have to take that one out there and just build that up with some metal blocks. I can go out that far because this will all be filled up with metal blocks as well. So okay, let's start planning out the missile system. So the intention is to have a 20 block missile with 2 ejectors, and the composition of the missile is that it's got a lot of fuel, as you can imagine. It's got to go almost 5,000 meters with a fairly heavy payload. Now the other part I want to ensure on this is that the system has it's got enough to be able to knock enemy vessels out fairly quickly. That's the intention here. So it only needs a few missiles, but to defeat lambs, it's going to fire all the missiles at one go, and we're going to fire quite a few. I don't want to have more than just, I don't want a lamb system just taking out all of the missiles in one fell swoop, and then it's like, well, why did I bother firing? So when it attacks a target, it's going to fire a considerable number of missiles at the same time. I'm putting a fair bit of armour on here on the bottom of this unit because I'm also thinking the last thing I want to happen is one hit down here below and the whole missile system basically is useless. That would also be a bad thing to happen. So that's our starting point, I think, for the moment. Let's start building some of these missiles. We're going to need to take out some of this, and let's just work out how it's actually going to fit into the system. Make sure we actually have allowed enough room, and just set up the first missile or two so you can see what this is like. Now okay, missiles, 6-way connectors, they're all going to have to be connected. Now I need to allow for a ejector, so that's on each side, so that's 1, 2, so if I put one there, okay, that leaves one down the center. The other way of doing it is to do it in rows like this, so I can do a row like that, come down the center, and then a second row here. That's another way to do it, or I can stagger them. So with staggering, we get a little odd. Yeah, it's a bit of a staggered. Let's go for a staggered approach. So that one we'll put let's find my launch pad. Okay, so launch pad, one either side. Launch pad, launch pad, launch pad. Then bear with me while I just work this out. Then, because we only need two, so that one can have one either side as well. So if I just take this type of design, no, that's not doing enough. I need two there. So the next one that can go here is gonna be just there. Okay. Dun 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 dun. So that one's no good. That one's no good. That one's no good. Told you it wasn't. Well, I didn't tell you, but I knew it would not be as simple as I had hoped. So so the next one that can go there. The next one there is there because you need a room for the ejectors on either side of it. So am I saving much distance? Not really. I've got a lot of blank space there. I can't. Can I put anything? I can put one there, and I can put one there. I'm almost coming back to the same as I had. There's no benefit. There's no benefit. There's no benefit. Okay. If I was going for, I think I did it on another one where I went to a 4-way ejector system. So, okay, we have to stick with like this. This will do for the moment. Okay, now we need to put the missile blocks in. And we'll put them facing this way. And if I put a mirror line on here, it's going to save me a little bit of hassle. There we go. Good old mirror line. 9, 10. Oh, one more because I didn't allow for the 6-way connector. Oh well, it's going to be a little higher on the top, but never mind. Right, so we'll just do a sum just to show you, and we'll set it up just to show you the effect of this. And then what we'll need is, I might as well finish this one off. Let's finish off a row, and then we'll show it working. And then I will complete all the rest once we know the basic idea works. So we've got 20 going up. I'll of course have to armour it, and I'll put some wood or some protective measure around the other side of this just to protect it from any nasty sort of shots from anything that may come up, but that'll do just for the moment. Right, with the ejectors, so where's my ejector add-on? So ejector on this side and on the other side. Did I do all of them done? Losing myself. I've lost myself. There we go. Did I get the center one as well? That looks all correct. Yep, there we go. Okay, now I can put the controller here for the moment, just to, while we're working on it. Doesn't have to be in the center or anywhere else. So that's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14 missiles. That would be enough to, I think, to cause someone a bad day if they come after us. I'll take off the mirror line now. So, okay, that's our controller, and we've got. We'll need a identify friend or foe. Now, I'm not. I could put a staggered fire, but there's no actual need for a staggered fire on this, because I do want them to all go at the same time. So now what we'll do is, see, that's a significant missile. We'll load in one of my designs, which is the ICBM, and then we'll assign that to all designs. Now, okay, we'll just have a quick look at this just to show you why I have done this design. Or should we see it in action first? Let me first of all just make sure that everything is ready to go. So it's got a maximum range of just on 5,000 and a minimum range of about 1,000 meters. Other than that, maximum speed, yeah, there is a maximum speed. There is no point these missiles firing at something which is going above about 20 meters a second. It just won't ever detect it. I'll put that about 25. Other than that, no real other items. Blocks wise, maybe only things of about 1,000 blocks. I'm going to leave that off for the moment because the test targets are actually fairly small. Let's see, on here I'm going to need a receiver on the side on channel 1, and I will need a failsafe. If these get damaged in some way, I definitely do not want them firing, and because of that there, I'm just going to move this weapon controller over one. Failsafe in there. Wireless receiver. Reset that to 1000. And this to 499. Way. We'll have a 9 there. We'll have a 5 there. There we go. That's close enough. And the maximum speed was 25. That'll do for the moment. Okay. So that would be theoretically ready to fire. There's no targets out there at the moment. Okay, these missiles then. What makes them good? Right, well, first of all, they go a long way. So we've got a basic makeup of a variable thruster, which gives it that long range, means we're less blocks used for thrusters compared to the normal thruster, so that's a good variable thruster. Now I'm leaving the speed at 1,000. I found that there is no advantage with these very long missiles of making the speed any way smaller or higher. I've tried them slightly reducing it down to 500, and it only made a difference in range of about 100-200 meters at these extreme ranges. So not worth doing for the difference in time it takes. We actually have a torpedo. Now the reason for the torpedo propeller is that this will attack vessels underwater. So rather than only being on the surface or the missiles just floating, if it goes for something under the water, it will go for it. A couple of fins to give some, at least allow it to turn. A ballast tank, again used as part of the propeller to ensure that if it's aiming for something under the water, it will continue down. Lots of fuel. Yes, lots of fuel. Now one turn, because this is an infrared, it needs to turn towards its enemy. A regulator, because this will take longer than 60 seconds to get to its target. So this gives it an extra 180 seconds. Target prediction, we want to make sure it gets a good chance of hitting the target, especially since it's probably moving, and these don't move that well, so they need to predict a little bit. A proximity fuse. The proximity fuse ensures that we get a good hit rather than a chance of a bounce. I've had quite a few missiles, especially longer missiles, that do bounce when they hit a target because the nose does not impact flat with the surface of the target, and you get a bounce. So it can happen. Warheads. Plenty of warheads. Fragmentation set up in a nice cone. I'm not gone for ultimate armor piercing. I have got a 1 degree, a 5 degree, and a 30, rather than a 135 or all ones or something like that, just so that we do some damage in an area rather than too localized. Explosive warheads. I like explosive warheads. They do plenty of surface damage. 2 explosive warheads. An EMP. Again, nice having an EMP. Chance of taking something critical out one shot. Camera. Random blocks. That is an important factor for here, which I'll explain in a second. And the infrared seeker, of course. Now, the reason for the camera on random blocks is on a larger target, as these missiles are all fired at the same time. Normally when you get a laser defense system, if you've got missiles with explosive warheads and they're all bunched together, if the LAM system blows up one, it will blow up the missiles that are near it. By telling them to go to particular random blocks, when it's aiming at its target, the missiles will separate out because they're aimed at different parts of the ship. The bigger the enemy ship, the further away the missiles will be. So at that point, when if the LAM system does hit one of the missiles, it's unlikely to blow all of the missiles up at the same time. Now, the other way around this is to stagger the fire. The problem with staggered fire is you're now giving the LAM system time to re-aim at another one of the missiles. And these are slow missiles. I want them all coming in at one time. So, yes, some of them will get taken out, but enough will get through to basically obliterate the enemy. So, okay, that's the system. Now, let's go and give that a little bit of a test. So I'm going to go out and put a little test target out here, and let's see, what range are we at now? That's about 2,800. We got since I've said it will do 5,000. I haven't tried it so high up, so yeah, 4,800. That seems like a good starting point. That's a long way away. Load vehicle. And what I have is these little test drones that I have created, and I'm going to create one in the deep water guard. So let's just load a target, which is just basically a floating pontoon with an AI and an engine, etc., so that it will be targeted. Right, so you can see this thing, and it has fired. The missiles have been launched. Now, where did they go? Now, one thing I'm worried about here, oh, there they are, is if they went into space. So, okay, here they are. They are heading out. They have been fired. So we'll follow them in. They're not necessarily very fast. Now, while this is going, people are saying, well, 20, there's no benefit of a 20 block missile. Well, that's not strictly true. It's in theory, yes, that's true. Also in theory, no, it's not true. Now, these are staying bunched up at the moment, and I'll just quickly say the target we're going for is really small. You can just see it there. So these aren't going to spread. But if you had something large, a large ship, then these would already start to be splitting apart on the target. We might bring something in a little bit larger later, just to test the explosive power of this once I've built up the full range. You can actually see it's slightly separating out already. That's possibly enough to stop them all being blown up by a single LAM system. Okay, these 20 block missiles are going at 5,000 meters, and they have 6 warheads with lots of extra abilities to try and sort of guarantee they will hit and destroy. Now, I tried making smaller missiles. Now, to get a single warhead with just an infrared camera and an infrared seeker, so a single explosive, and that did not make the range. Whoa! How far did that go? How far did that go? 4,500. Okay. Something changed there. Let's have a look at this design. We will just stop this firing anymore while we're having a look at it. Things are never quite as simple as I would like. Let's just check to make sure that everything is set as I expected. So let me just do a few little checks on this here, and I will be back in a little while. Hello and welcome back. After working through some of the little vagaries of the missile system, I've got a working solution now. Now, for some reason, even I'm 200 meters above the unit which is on the sea level, but the sea level one with exactly the same missile goes further than the one which is higher. You would have thought that the higher one would have had some advantage, but it appears not. Obviously gravity has a negative effect on missiles trying to go down, it seems. So that's been a little unusual. I mean, there's a few other little weirdnesses of the missile system. I've added a few more just to make sure. Now these are all identically set up. I've had to increase their size to 22 blocks just to add a little bit more fuel in there, and a fin, but otherwise they're identical. But even when they fire, they don't all and they fire exactly the same time, they don't all go in the same group. So there's something which is causing them to split up. Now, we can't say it's because of movement of the vehicle, because this is a structure. There's no movement whatsoever. There's no obstructions, but for whatever reason, they don't all go together. They seem to split into two groups, and one group has a longer range than the other. Yes, weird. Anyway, I've now set the AI at 4,900, so that's a good set. So we'll set those on here, and now we're just going to give it a quick little test. Let's see how this works against some target out there. Now, 4,900, that's a fair old distance, and I've set some targets up here. These are out at about 5,000. So they're not automatically being targeted at this moment. So 5,100. So we'll load in an enemy ship this time. So something which actually moves. So bear with me a second. So something like the good old... We're going to bring two things in, just to see. A Marauder. We'll load a Marauder in. That will make its way forward, and we'll just a little bit further away load something a little larger in. Something like a Plunderer, I think, is a good sized vehicle, just to see what these missiles do when they hit. So if we just come back to the missiles for the moment, and we can then see when the target gets into range. Now, being in designer mode, I can actually see the range roughly. So it's getting in range now of these items. 5,000. So it's just past the 5,000. So the AI is now aware of them. And at 4,900, this is from me, so it depends where the AI block is. It might just be a little bit sooner than that, but any time now, we should see all of these fire. He says, hopefully. There we go. And you can see they've split into two groups. And I don't see any... It seems like one group has split up the others. They've all got exactly the same number of ejectors, and the missiles are set up exactly the same, but one group decides to fire different to the other. We can just have a check of that. If I go up to any of them, they all say 2 ejectors on this launch pad, and if I go to the front set, 2 ejectors and 2 ejectors. So they're all, and the actual missiles themselves are all identical. So something weird happens with missiles. So now we'll see these heading in towards the target. So there's 2 groups. And this lower group here actually goes further than the group up here. Now, one of the problems I think I was having is I'm sure these are going out of atmosphere, and that's possibly having a negative effect on their speed. So they use up, but they don't stop using fuel. It's a pity, because you'd have thought going higher that the item would have, the missiles would have gained speed or efficiency. But that's not the case. But let's see what happens when this comes in on the target. So it looks like they're going for this Marauder first. So the first barrage. Now obviously they're splitting up a little bit. Oh, they might actually be going for the Plunderer. First of all, we'll see what they do actually go for. Yep, they're going for the Plunderer by the looks of it. Now he's launching flares on the Plunderer, but that won't really help him because we've got cameras on this. Going for random blocks. And, oh, they went for one of the targets actually there. That's dead. And now we've got another section coming in, and you can see they're moving around as they go for random blocks here. And one went, ooh, I don't know where that set went. Okay, that did a fair chunk of damage there. You can see one of those blocks really ripped through this vessel at this long range. Let's see what the second barrage can do. So this was the second set. You can see there's quite a lot of power in the missiles that are hitting here. They're coming in at quite a good damage they've done on this Plunderer. Let's have a look at what it's done. So yeah, we've done 1,000 points of damage for 2 barrages, and we're still well away. They're not far shooting at us. And what about the Marauder? Oh, there's a whole set going in there on the Marauder. I'm sure that mostly didn't help it at all. So this is the intention anyway. At long range, these are just going to come in and maul the target still while they're nearly 4,000 meters away, and these have all already been reduced to less than ideal, shall we say. They've been rendered fairly combat ineffective with the mixture of the HE that we've taken off. Well, there's a turret gone. Yeah, they're coming in quite nicely now. I think the Marauder's just about rendered inoperative. You can see it's not really floating properly. And once it does get within about, the intention is once it gets to maybe about 3,000, 3,500, we'd start having cannon fire coming in, and at that point potentially all these missiles would have rendered the shields ineffective. And I might set the missiles to stop firing if there's a target gets too close, possibly maybe 2,000, 2,500, stop these large missiles. We'll see when we've set up a few more missile barrages. You can still see they're coming in quite nicely. I think because of ammo production, potentially they're not all recharging in time, but we can look at that. Look at the ammo production rate, but yeah, I think that's just rendered this Plunderer. Yep, that's he's not going anywhere. It's now just a matter of until one of them hits a vital part. So excellent. I'm liking that. So that's a 5,000, well, nearly 4,900, depending on the missiles. And we've got 21 firing there out. We're going to just block that up and put a little bit of protection around it. But it's going to be a long range, for long range targeting. We can still put a delay on them, or we can leave them as they are now, where they all fire as soon as they are ready. I think if I put some ammo production on here, they will quite happily get ready each time. So this is going to be stage 1. Stage 2, I will look at the cannons. So in the not next episode, but the next episode on this build, I'll be looking at some large cannons on the side here, around this area, turreted. So they have a little bit of an angle. I want them to have 180 degrees at this side, but to the front they just have, maybe about 20-30 degrees this way. Then this area will potentially block them, but they'll have a good turn this way. Possibly use some of the space underneath for some of the blocks for the turret, and that will be a long range gun, hopefully in the 3,000 meters we're looking at each side, a gun of that particular, somewhere in that range. See how that fares. I'm not going to make it so it's hyper, well, it's going to be relatively accurate. I want it to be accurate, long range, but maybe not that faster firing. We'll have a look at it. It's to do damage at long range. Pick targets out at long range. This missile system is a primary alpha damage. As you can see, that was significant alpha damage happening there, whereas the cannon is going to be more of a sustained DPM sort of type of damage. Possibly highish armor piercing, but not too much high explosive. Something high explosive, but more get through the shields with the AP, long range, and just do a little bit of damage, peck away at it, and do damage over time. So, any comments about this idea? And this is going to be done maybe over this week. I will do this. I'll set another video up in a couple of days time or so, once I've worked on the cannons. But until next time, keep going. Please leave any comments about the idea, and please click that like button. But until then, have fun.